The red-haired girl said, "Captain, with only 53 divine lightning stones giving us a market price of 2,650 crystals." The erect-haired guy replied, "That's a lot." Their exchanges were all clearly heard by Zhang Chen. He thought to himself that the soldier was really the kind of person who did not know how to transform. He said through the communication screen, "These things he brought with him. He was the brother of the dragon country. He was a family member with me." The erect-haired man refused. The discipline of the army had no morality to take no from people. Moreover, he was in heaven to deal with the imperial body. At this time I could not occupy the comfort. Since he didn't take it, Zhang Chen decided to say, "Our crystals are really not much, but the supplies are abundant, except for the crystal parts. Can I use the supplies to compensate?" The other party replied, "If so, I am not a flute." Zhang Chen said, "My side needs a large amount of acid solution, corrosion-resistant skin, steel and flour condensation tape. How much do you want?" Zhang Chen inspected the supplies. The blueprint of strongly corrosive bullets including 1 acid solution, 2 corrosion-resistant skins and 10 steel, he thought, must produce enough heavily corrosive ammunition to deal with the cancer. He replied, "Except for that condenser bandage, the other supplies we have so many, have already sent you." He very quickly received, in which 10 tons of steel, 2,000 skins subjected to eating, 800 acid solutions, 70 frozen meat and 1,000 mineral water. This name was also quite liberal, and transferred to Zhang Chen a lot of supplies. Zhang Chen cheered excitedly, "That's good. This amount of supplies in a short time by myself is really not enough." He put on a serious expression and said, "Comrade Zhang Chen, who was the captain of the Langyan land earlier talking to you. Now, I use the identity of Zhao Shichen's brother to tell you a few things." Then he showed the attitude of an older brother who loved his sister immensely, annoyed him, and protected Shi Zan well. This attitude of his made Zhang Chen a little surprised, froze for a few seconds. Then he smiled and replied, "Rest assured, I won't let Zhang Shi hurt a strand of her hair." But this word made him quite angry, constantly shouting, "Not only Gang Shi, you understand, Shi Chen is a girl, who is mere. Bathing does not know how to avoid people, a lot of dangers." At this time, Zhang Chen understood, and he replied quietly. Hearing his answer, Shi Chen's brother disconnected. He breathed a sigh of relief. And then said to himself, "This big brother read his identity card number straight. Is it not to remind me not to be eager so, can I be a gentleman himself?" When it came to this in his mind, there appeared the image of Shi Zan wearing a wet shirt so the fabric was tight to his body, revealing 18+ images, forbidden for children to see. The thought of coming here made him feel lightheaded. Zhang Chen quickly regained his composure, and he smashed the images out with his hand. And then repeatedly waved his hand so that the forbidden images of people under 18 years of age to see escaped from his. It was the importance and antagonism of the body that was the urgent thing now. He then controlled the system, which began to form powerful corrosive bombs. He revealed an evil smile. He led the 2 fats forward. He turned his head and said loudly, "Are you ready? You have to go fight a tough fight." Xiao Shi and her robot both raised their fingers to show that they were ready. "No problem, start." He lowered his head to point to the machine so that it produced the red rope. Red strings were spread everywhere by Zhang Chen. He said okay. Xiao Shi on the other side announced, "The old man, the grenade on that side has also been arranged." Zhang Chen held out 2 fingers with satisfaction. He thought, it must be okay to prepare. Hope asked, "Brother God, I don't understand that Gang Shi can't swim. Isn't it more convenient for us to directly blow up the bridge?" He thought about that case. And then explained, "We are faced with 10,000 bodies, such a large number, the flow of which has no effect, only by leaving an opening to lure them through." At this time, she understood. "It turns out, I think too little." He patted her head slightly and said, "Quickly rest, rely on your scout. The court will go to Tianyang City tomorrow, then there will be a battle." Their feet were dark, their car parked in the night. In the car, everyone is sinking into a beautiful dream. One of his arms reached up. They crawled away to the depths. "Cry out." The noises reached the point of waking the 3 of them. Everyone looked out the window. He wondered, there was no attack, what they were doing, and Xiao Shi was still asleep. She rubbed her eyes dreamily and asked, "What is the sound?" Suddenly their car shook violently. Xiao Shi tried to sit firmly. This is an earthquake." The system screen announced, 10 lakh bodies are 3 minutes away from the glorious bridgehead, please prepare to fight. He thought, it's time. Those animals didn't stop screaming. Shi Chen pointed in one direction and said loudly, the sound coming from the side of the wall. Zhang Chen took the sword and ran. I thought, you guys showed the way to that side. He shouted, most likely the court, hurry, follow the plan, which made the astonished Hope exclaim, huh, ah. Xiao Shi climbed on the Fat too and said, let's go Fat. True to his command, Shi Chen climbed into the car. Press the control button for the car to return to the shape of a robot. Everyone is ready to fight. They stood in front of red wires. Hope to control the robot in anxiety. Naturally Xiao Shi was awake, she held a sword, and showed a cold expression ready to kill. He was also serious. Shi Chen controlled the robot with a bunch of thoughts, it's really Shi Tiao. Ching is enough to threaten death, if those guys storm through here. In the face of risk, there is no doubt that the thyroid muscle is the safest thing. The god brought it to himself again. Zhang Chen and the Hope inside the robot were both stunned. A hand sticking upwards. In less than a second, there were countless reinforcements rushing up, all of which were constantly screaming fiercely. One of them attacked towards Zhang Chen. He only needed to use a sword, and the reinforcement was shattered, and then he rushed towards the gangsters. The robot on the other side was also not idle. It used a sharp blade to destroy the gang. On the other side, there was a girl. She asked, Brother Hao, that little sister didn't fool us, the exam really came, can we help her withdraw? Zheng Hao didn't reply silently. The girl continued to ask, Brother Hao, hurry up and be decisive. The robot has power that cannot be disdained. It fires one shot, a cloud of reinforcements fly up. Robots are still fighting hard. One of them was shot in the head, and its eyes flew out. There was another one, too, who was shot for almost half the head. It turned out that the culprit behind these head-dangling incidents was Xiao Shi. She used a sniper gun to destroy the gang Shi. She smiled triumphantly. He, the old man is intelligent, so there is no reinforcement that can pass, the exam is just that. The corpses were full of corpses, so Zhang Chen could only step on them. He stepped on the heads of those erections to move forward. One of them rushed towards him. Of course, it couldn't touch Zhang Chen's feathers. He slashed once, and the gang immediately became a pool of blood. Another rushed up and was easily handled by him. Seeing that the situation was not right, he decided to create a gun. Suddenly a beast held him back. He pointed his gun at his head and squeaked. Zhang Chen fired a gun at his head and said to slash your family, burn you. Notification system, ding, auto-collect started. Successfully collected, successfully collected. In order to make it more convenient to destroy these gangsters, Zhang Chen created another gun. He said, cutting vegetables is not so happy. He kept firing at them, making the smoke and flames hazy. He agreed, then give you something stronger. There was a noise behind him, so he stopped his actions. It turned out that a herd with several thousand juniors in tow, it raised its huge paws, stepping on the ground, causing the ground to shake slightly. That iguanas led the juniors towards him. Zhang Chen, who witnessed this scene, smiled slightly, and said, I know right away, how can it be so simple, then there is a big dish in the back. Seeing that the corpses were burned, they cried out bitterly, and Zhang Chen let out a quiet cry. He carried the heavily corrosive bomb on his shoulder and said, it's too much. He sent the bomb exploding towards the iguanas. The acid in the bomb was full of his sun. This acid must have been so corrosive that it groaned in pain, and one even oozed. A small creature rushed towards Zhang Chen. He was a little terrified of the white light it brought. Have the gun ready in hand. He flew up, not giving those erections a chance to pounce on him. Above, he fired his gun below. What he shot at was a container of heat pills. When the heat pill barrel is broken, a large amount of heat immediately gushes out, which can burn everything in the world. It was slowly burning the reinforcements below. It seemed that the amount of heat medicine was not enough to destroy all these reinforcements. Shi Chun controlled the robot closer. Seeing that the situation was not right, she called to Mr. Shen, hurrying. She controlled the robot to jump on top of the gang. He landed on the ground and called, hello, pups. Retreating, he said as he slashed a few more barrels of heat pills, is the heat potion enough to destroy these people? Xiao Shi obeyed, controlling the pet to run after him. Notification system, hidden hints, ammunition combustion heat pills can maintain the mode for 30 minutes. If there is a need to upgrade, recommendations do not escape the automatic collection range but have a certain mortality rate. The current upgrade progress is 4,839 out of 2,500 times 2. Looking at the announcement, Zhang Chen pondered in his heart, The firewall can prevent a large number of reinforcements. The rate of storming through is only a bullet. The corrosive bullet is enough to withstand 30 minutes. In the fire, the iguanas did not cease to scream. He thought in a panic, what was he afraid of? The animals are still alive, not dead. They even stuck out their long, zigzag tongues, which looked quite scary. Seeing these people slowly crawling towards him, he thought to himself, oh my god. Kidding, the sticky fluid released from his body extinguished the fire. Those beasts were still crawling towards Zhang Chen incessantly. To his astonishment, there are children who are not afraid of fire. The iguanas have recovered, not just one, but 3 in a row. They, along with the long-tongued erections, were slowly advancing towards him. Seeing that the time had come, he ordered, browsed, and struck. She pulled up the lever with her strength and replied. In an instant, countless bullets flew out. This time there were many who left without returning. The fat man also helped, and he repeatedly bit these beasts to death. Without letting the 3 of them wait long, Shi Chen controlled the robot to fly up. He also flew the corrosive bomb in front of the men. Zhang Chen asked, are the strong corrosive bullets ready? Op didn't answer, just fired at them instead of answering. Seeing that, he also fired bullets at the reinforcements. These erections were corroded by acid, so they flowed out. On the ground, Xiao Shi was not idle. She called, hey, this side, over here. A bewildered creature, not knowing where that call came from, and one saw her and was about to follow. She seduced, come on, this side has good stuff. It's funny, then good here that Xiao Wei said is a barrel of heat pills. Those animals still don't know they're still waiting, she said. Yes, that's it, stand still. I gave you a big surprise, and as soon as you finished your sentence you pressed the switch on the heat medicine bucket. The electric trap was immediately launched. Xiao Shi agreed. Whoever told you and Gang Shi could not distinguish, not even as smart as me. Shi Chen and Zhang Chen were still diligently firing bullets downwards. Xiao Shi said. Okay. The next wave of old man and sister Zhan Shi also tried. Shi Chen inside kept pushing the lever but it just squeaked. Not a single bullet was fired. She panicked and said to him, the bullet is out. He replied, I have some, immediately pass it on to you. This second persistence has already been suppressed. From the system came a ding. He paused and said, it's. Because he ran out of ammunition, Shi Zhan controlled the robot to leave, but it was not so easy, and he ordered him to be arrested again. The cancer counterattacks, attacking him and the robot. Zhang Chen and Shi Chen couldn't dodge in time. The others were still rushing and attacking, causing him to panic. Making Zhang Chen say something in amazement, it was already gone. But it was already late, the little beast surrounded him. He thought, isn't it going to be okay? There was even a Gang Shi sticking out his tongue to touch him with his tongue. A ding sounded. The current progress notification system is 5736 out of 2500 by 2. Check that the player is eligible for upgrade. Please ask if you will immediately upgrade. The iguanas let out a roar, its hands both making an attack. Without hesitation, it immediately threw the thing forward. Luckily, there was Shi Chen controlling the robot, and Zhang Chen on the other side was quite pathetic. He was clinging to the 2 gangsters. Shi Chen called, God. Brother God. He looked at the ones who were hugging him and thought about lifting. A red light appeared. The beasts that were wrapped around him were immediately knocked out, and he decided to choose to upgrade. Ding, the system has received the signal. Congratulations on upgrading as a mid-term awakener stage 1. Gene evolution direction receives 1 Thien Fu point. Energy evolution direction receives 1 Thien Fu point. Middle stage 2 awakening person after the current upgrade progress is 1023 per 8000 multiplier 2. Gene evolution direction, and energy evolution direction. Distinguishing conduct 1 Thien Fu selection. Tianfu 1 gene evolution direction, 0 on 1 slaughter ferocity, activated wound healing in an instant, poison elimination, infected secondary state, etc. While improving attack damage by 30%, improving self-healing capacity by 300%, sustaining time 10 minutes, hair poison immunity and viral infections, suggesting hidden, after the end of the retention period will produce a state of vulnerability for 30 minutes, i.e. withstand 30% damage upgrade. Thien Fu 2 gene evolution direction, transmutation escape, 0 out of 3, each upgrade of the body's response, strength, speed and resistance to stimulation will receive a separate enhancement of 33%, 66% and 100%. Heavenly energy evolution direction 1, concussion crystal, 0 on 1, consumes 10 crystals generated plus the crystal in the target's body, thereby dealing a large amount of damage to the target. The effect adds a radius of 5 meters, can repeatedly link 100 targets plus shock. Heavenly Energy Evolution 2, Energy Barrier Screen not above 3. After opening, all attacks that cause damage are reduced by 60%, 70%, 90%. Each successful defense will consume crystal stone. The stronger the attack, the more intense the crystal fusion consumes, until the crystal fusion consumes all. Too much information came out, he thought. If there was more time to think, it would be good. Now there was no choice. He then decided to opt for a transmutation escape upgrade. In the Fusion +1, the system immediately worked. Gathering the reinforcements into a lump, he thought, the adding. The foot of the building was thrown into a fireball by someone. The system displays again, starts self-gathering, notifications, get 1 crystal stone diamond, continuously appear. Zhang Chen happily calculated, once adding up, losing 10 crystals, destroying Zhang Shi and harvesting 92 crystals. He recovered his health and said, this trade is worth it. The robot controlled by Hope was surrounded by the gangsters. She exclaimed, "Yah! These animals are really destructive. We damage the robot together. Some children punch the glass to break. Some children remove the robot's arm," he called, "Hai Zan." Shi Chen inside closed her eyes and didn't dare to look. She called out, "Mr. Chen." He picked up his knife and said, "Hopefully, persist a little." At this time, one of them had already dangled the robot. Someone dangled the head of a robot that was destroying the robot. It was 2 people standing on a high-rise building. It turned out that the 2 of them were Jun Hao and Pearl Jade. Both of them had a gun ready to help him. Jun Hao ordered, "Pearl, don't ignore anyone." She opened fire and replied. He rushed towards her as he slashed to death the erections clinging to him. A wailing cry rang out, and he immediately spoke up reassuringly, "Don't cry, I'm here." The crying kept ringing. He thought it wasn't right. This wasn't Grease's cry. It was the cry of something underneath the robot. It kept crying hoo hoo hoo. He thought, what is it? Ding! The system that gave the hidden hint carefully detected the person infected with the new Type 3 variant, who cried. After reading this information, Zhang Chen was quite surprised. He thought, what was underneath was the form of Ba. He slowly approached the place where there was a hoo hoo cry. Suddenly behind him there was a growling erection exam. He thought, it's okay. The new erection exam came so quickly. He realized something wasn't quite right. Zhang Shi said, "It's really urgent. What is he standing there doing?" Gang Shi has already arrived. It seems that Jun Hao has realized something, so he said, "Wait for the jade. Drool, let's shoot. The situation is not good. The concentration speed of those gangsters is not normal." And again, they all kept a certain distance from Zhang Chen, not attacking immediately. He took aim at the robot's position. They didn't attack me, but... Zhang Chen thought, it's not true. They didn't attack me, but rather, you stood up on your head. Hope Zan, patience a little. You drill, come out. Hope Chen inside said out. God, brother God, these reinforcements. That crying reinforcement called. It has wisdom, to be careful. Another top of the competition came. When he raised his head to look, he was surrounded by countless gang shi. He decided to use the concussion fusion technique. His gaze was extremely determined. This technique was quite effective. In just a few seconds, the gang shi were destroyed, shattered into smoke clouds. This made the 2 people on the high-rise building quite surprised. They finally went to worship their grandparents, their bodies forming stones that fell to the ground, and beneath the robot a hand poked out. In just a few seconds, Zhang Shi wept and jumped out. Hoping to remind him, he wanted to run. What did he utter? He thought, no wonder he suddenly didn't hear the crying anymore. This thing used his fellow human beings to give him a chance to run away, hurriedly pulled the distance out, proving that even the concussive crystal condition could be guessed. The crying erection was a girl with a fiery body, which round to round. He fired a few bullets as he spoke, so clever he couldn't spare his eyelashes. Being summoned to support a gun, this ability is annoying. He thought, even the cancer can catch it. That Form 3 is not 1,000 people enchanted in the erection, can burn like that. Nor is it unconvincing. That wailing erection turned its head, gently rubbed the erect cheek as the giant was, making it madly happy. Zhang Chen saw it and thought, gosh, may I introduce a little? The one who wailed has extremely fast movement speed and sharp claws that can cut metal. Demonic behavior. When meeting humanity, when there is no attack, when frantically launching attacks, hidden suggestions, its cry could not only draw gang shi around, but also strengthen them, leaving them crazy. He kept firing corrosive bullets as he said, "What a scream, I have no interest in your girlfriend." After a while of shooting, the head of the iguanas was oozing, but still unharmed by it. He thought in annoyance, deserving of death. It must have become harder to fight. Because of the accumulation of the power of the waver, the vitality of the iguanas increased by 400%, now suffering 28% damage. The three of them attacked him at the same time. He said, "All right, let you see me and the dog's flattery, based on the added strength of women who is better." He repeatedly fires heavily corrosive bullets at the range. The notification system, the iguanas take corrosive damage, forming 15% of the damage. He took corrosive damage, forming 17% of the damage, because he had to fight constantly. He was tired, panting. He continued to use the concussion fusion move, the notification system. The cancer suffered corrosive damage, forming 13% of the damage, and finally the cancer died. Only one of them died, and two remained. One of them raised his fist, intending to punch him. Zhang Chen also raised his sword, ready to fight, he said. The earth and stone shattered, it punched down. Fortunately, Zhang Chen jumped up in time, avoiding this heavenly punch. He went to Zhang Shi's place crying and lamenting to catch it, but it wasn't so simple, because it had already flown away. He thought in annoyance, "Indeed you are a dessert darling." "I say so," Yi also regard as. As soon as he finished, he stabbed it in the eye with his sword and used the fusion technique. A flash of blue light immediately surrounded the herd. All of this had been seen by the two people upstairs. He said in amazement, "This is too strong." "He is not," Zheng Hao replied. "Yes, too strong. If everyone could have the same strength as him, this would soon be over." He thought to himself that if he became an enemy to him, his life would soon be gone. Luckily, he aimed at the robot and said, "It's gone. The armor can't move, it's surrounded again." He offered to come down. "Let's go down and help," and he agreed to answer and suddenly someone said, "You have such a motherly heart." When they saw Hong Dat come out, they were both surprised. Zheng Hao called out to Hong Dao. He said, "Zheng Hao, don't you want to grow as strong as Zhang Chen?" Zheng Hao said, "Wait for me to come down and wait for me," she replied. When he first came to the door, Hong Dat said, "In such a long rolling position, even if I didn't say you were very clear, was it? The way to quickly turn strong was not to kill Gang Shi, but to kill people." As he spoke, he slowly approached Zheng Hao and patted him on the shoulder. That Zhang Chen had such power, he didn't know how many lives he carried. Brother Hao, collecting his holy mother's heart, when he was fighting with Zheng Hao, believed him very much, killed him. He squeezed Zheng Hao's shoulder again, killing him and taking the crystal on him. He would be the strongest. "Didn't you always want to protect our battlefield? Then you had to turn strong." At this point, he said loudly, "Brother Hao, don't hesitate." Hong Dat said such a long line, and Zheng Hao only spoke for an hour. And then continued, "Hongda, you are right. I really should not have Holy Mother's heart. I must turn strong." Hong Dat exclaimed, "Brother Hao, you finally understand." He thought happily, "Now that I want to survive temporarily, I can only rely on the powerhouse. If that Chang is this idiot Zheng Hao, I will have a chance to turn around in the future." While he was deep in thought, Zheng Hao pulled out a knife and stabbed him once. He said, "But isn't it easier to kill him than to kill Zhang Chen?" He was in so much pain, his voice stammered slightly. "Zheng Hao, you," Zheng Hao said, "I saw it then. At that time, you joined the Nihong country, didn't you? You soon abandoned our barracks, and expecting me to continue to protect you." As soon as he finished his sentence, he pushed Hong Duck hard and he fell to the ground. Then gently stepped on his stomach, causing him to spit out blood. "You told me to go kill Zhang Chen. There is also a vengeful element in it, right? Because he killed your master, so that you could only run back. Did your hand have something to do with him?" Ding! The system sounded the announcement of the recovery of the body of a person with extreme energy. Received 892 crystal energy. Upgraded to a stage 3 Tianfu primary awakener. Zheng Hao said, "Hao, now as you wish, I have turned strong." Underneath, there's a robot's glass chisel. Shi Chen got out, and she shot it through the head with her gun. In her heart she kept asking what to do. What to do? She also used her gun to shoot continuously at the surrounding animals. She exclaimed too much, but then regained her spirits. The sight of him was definitely more pressured than herself, unable to trouble him. But she still asked the question in her heart what to do. Zheng Hao went to the ground to support her. He shot 3 Gang Shi in quick succession. After that, he approached where Shi Chen was standing. Zheng Hao asked with concern, "Hey, it's okay?" She replied, "No, no thanks." as another explosion occurred. He carried the corrosive bomb on his shoulder and approached the mourner. In the end there was only the love, she still couldn't stop crying hoo hoo hoo. He ran up to her and fired. Dead, she yelled, oh wow. But the surprise was that her body was still intact, unscratched, he thought suddenly, without cutting through. He shot and shouted in exasperation, deserved to die, is this evolution perverted? Where Zhang Chen shot she dodged there. He thought, not only could he control other Gangxi, the level of thick skin and flexibility was also higher than that of other Gangxi. He chased after her and asked, given our relationship, if she felt it was appropriate. Obediently he said as he stabbed her in the back, she groaned in pain. He used the technique again, cum plus. Then stabbed a sword behind her, causing her great pain. Blue light rushes fast. At this time, the system reported the kill attack to 21%, then to 16%. Zhang Chen hugged the bomb and rushed forward and shouted that it was thick flesh, try this. The bomb galloped forward. Extremely powerful explosion. Dust flies hazy. Rampant heatwave. Zhang Chen continued to launch the attack and said that it was still a strong corrosive bullet that worked. The system appeared to successfully kill the whaler who received the crystal. The hidden comrade is in danger. If not saved in time, it will most likely become Fa. Zhang Chen frowned slightly and wrinkled his teeth and said that he was a noble Fa. Said who is Fa? The system immediately continued to announce, please stop being abusive with the hidden system. Receiving the notification, Zhang Chen looked at him apprehensively. Zhang Chen continued to look ahead and thought that his teammate was saying, at this time, his teammate was still fighting a horde of zombies. There at this time, Zheng Hao was saving Shi Chun. They were fighting against the undead they were about to be unable to resist anymore. Suddenly, a strong force attacked the two people. Pearl Yu said, Brother Hao, he couldn't help it anymore. Shush. Pearl Yu looked at Zheng Hao. Shi Chen at this time saw Zhang Chen running over and happily calling out to Brother Chen. Zhang Chen was about to run over and thank Zheng Hao. But he said, don't say these words, it's not over yet, if you don't deal with it next, you can run away. Zhang Chen pointed in the distance and said that it was not time to retreat. There were many unused traps on both sides. Shao Shi and Fat to the west guarded the east not to let Zhang Shi flood in. At that moment, Shi Chen seemed to recognize someone. Keep looking closer. It turned out that a giant zombie from the fire was coming towards them. Shi Chen hurriedly interrupted Zhang Chen's words and called out to the brother god there and pointed in the direction of the fire. A giant zombie and 5 others mourned. Zhang Chen sweated and thought in his mind that one of them was already very difficult to solve. Why did there be 5 of them and then ordered you to hurry to the east? This place is assigned to me. The giant zombie kept growling loudly. Before parting, Shi Zan held Zhang Shenqi's hand, and called out to him, his voice full of nostalgia. Then instructed Zhang Chen to be careful, his eyes full of worry and love. Zhang Chen smiled and said he knew. They held hands and looked at each other passionately, making their cheeks flush. Then Shi Chen ran away and said, I'm here in the east. We will definitely take good care of Zhang Chen and answer happily. After everyone left, only Zhang Chen was there. He checked the upgrade progress system was 15,903 2 out of 80,000. Seeing that, Zhang Chen thought to himself, now he knows that strong corrosive bullets can cause damage to people and mourners, but this alone is not enough. If you can upgrade another level, it is good. Then speaking in the direction of the giant monster before I upgraded you obediently hanging there. He stood there with the horde of undead still growling. The speaker admitted that there were living people, delicious living people. Zhang Chen put the megaphone on his head, and then the voice rang out. After a while, there were many attracted undead gathered around there. Zhang Chen ordered to stop. Under the eager gaze of those undead, Zhang Chen swung his hand with a shocking crystal. The crystal fusion sprang up, and the other ray of light spewed out blue light that spread around. Zhang Chen thought that the afternoon across the bridge was all scattered. It was not easy to let them gather together otherwise, there was no Form E and it was not easy to upgrade. The giant zombie and the other undead saw this, only screaming angrily. Fire enveloped him. A light of the fire flashed through. The explosion of earth. The giant zombie roared loudly, and then the ones next to him slowly jumped off him. Flashing a trail of fire, the earth shattered huge stones flying around, so that he could see how great the power of the giant undead was. He continued to roar to the sky. The sparks and the ground just kept impacting each other. Thanks to its tremendous destructive power, Jiang Chen successfully upgraded others, awakened the second stage, then upgraded others, awakened the third stage intermediate level. 105 6 out of 12,000. Jiang Chen laughed with joy. At this moment he felt very comfortable standing there. Continue watching the giant zombie. Seeing him approach, he said with a smile at the right time. Elsewhere at this time, Xiao Shi and Second Fat excitedly attacked the undead, both shooting and provoking the undead to come here. Come here a little more, our old man left a lot of weapons for me. Suddenly, the slimy liquid from nowhere hit Xiao Zai's head. Feeling that his head was dirty, Xiao Shi reflexively raised his eyes to the sky and shouted what was sticky, so disgustingly sticky. Before he could finish scolding, a red-eyed monster with teeth resembling octopus tassels and sharp claws stared at Xiao Shi and opened its wide mouth and rushed towards Xiao Shi. When the monster's mouth was only 1 arm's length away from his head, Xiao Shi cried out in panic, "Mommy!" The monster that was encroached upon by the water continued to try to devour Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi raised his hands to support the defense. Then suddenly there was a strange sound in the distance. The monster was also attracted by that strange sound. Each growl kept appearing together. The whole undead rushed towards it. Xiao Shi did not understand what continued to observe. Seeing that something was wrong, Xiao Shi and Junior Fat rushed forward together. These guys were strange. Let's go over and see that the old man was also there. Jiang Chen after reaching the second stage awakening person level. He continued to sit there. Behind him was the giant zombie lying on the ground growling, and the swarm of undead above him sitting on top of him kept growling all the time. The screen shows the escape of the essence. One of the 3 is passive. Your attribute is once again enhanced by 3 times. Then the endowment multiples of 2. The gene evolution direction receives a genius point waiting to be divided. Jiang Chen fights the undead with the skill of genetic evolution, upgrading, and killing. The slaughter went on and on, getting more violent. Jiang Chen smiled approvingly that the fusion was really good. The display had completed the evolution. The undead continued to rush forward, intending to pounce on Jiang Chen at the opening. Their sharp hands were only a gauntlet away from reaching Jiang Chen at this time. A power was protecting Jiang Chen from behind, and the more he stubbornly attacked Jiang Chen, the more they were pushed away by the power. Then Jiang Chen grabbed the head of the undead and scolded the man with the attack skill gap. Do you feel that you are very smart or not? Just when I finished my evolution, playing with you guys, Jiang Chen laughed on the chair and said in a provocative voice. Continuing to be a gathering of lashing energy that makes the power of ferocity emerge. Knocking out the undead, those people now only dared to cry out. Jiang Chen continued to draw his sword. Slash off the heads of the undead. The rest continued to attack in waves. Jiang Chen continued to unleash a violent killing move, and another wave of blue power emanated. Concussion, the undead of that area flew around. Burst out with a thud, everything exploded. Just as Xiao Zai's voice was about to be annihilated, "Ya-a." In the blur, Xiao Zai's shadow slowly appeared. Jiang Chen at this moment seemed to see something that made him sweat, and he bit his teeth and let out 2 words. It turned out to be Xiao Shi, who was being controlled behind Xiao Shi by the crying monster. Jiang Chen saw this, stammered and said Xiao Shi. The wailing monster suddenly stabbed once with his sharp fingernails in Xiao Zai's back. She vomited an extremely terrifying all-blue thing. Jiang Chen saw this, and exclaimed, "Heaven!" That blue thing spread farther and farther. Xiao Shi followed Jiang Chen's orders, and leaned towards Jiang Chen. Xiao Shi was already controlled. How could even a human be controlled? Was it because of her erection skills? Jiang Chen speculated. Momentarily, do not think of Jiang Chen evading the alarm system. Your guess is not wrong. Seeing this, Jiang Chen frowned in response in his mind at this time, and then even sneaked at me. Since when did Mi Cheng suggest going back and forth? Hurry up and say something useful. The system that received Jiang Chen's order continued to announce the display of body erection skills, causing the characteristics of the infinite human body to approach the erection. But the brain was most weakly affected. After the analysis system, Jiang Chen guessed suspiciously. Xiao Shi still retains consciousness, therefore, the one who mourns can only come into contact with Xiao Shi can control it. After roughly understanding how the mourners worked, Jiang Chen lured Xiao Shi into an abandoned house while it was still targeting Jiang Chen. He seized the opportunity for Second Fat to rush forward and attack the whaler. But before he could attack, he was spotted crying monster and ordered Xiao Shi to raise his gun to shoot Fat. causing Fat to be thrown a few meters away, causing Fat to cry out in pain. Taking advantage of the opportunity to obscure, Zhang Chen rushed in front of the lightning-fast whaler. Unleashing a concussive fusion move that made the monster cry out suddenly, only knew how to do it all. After launching Zhang Chen's move, he realized that Xiao Shi was also attacked, unable to use the fusion. Zhang Chen was forced to change his attack. He slashed down on the head of the whaler with his knife as he slashed and said to himself, it's okay, this distance is enough. The mourner finds this cunning. Use Xiao Shi as a shield. Forcing Zhang Chen to change his mind. Slashing off course, angrily cursing his mother, shit. Xiao Shi held a sharp knife. While not paying attention, Xiao Shi stabbed Zhang Chen once in the back. Zhang Chen immediately spat out blood. Zhang Chen collapsed. The notification system was severely wounded by the poisonous executioner. The healing rate of the wound -500% of the body was numb +300%. Seeing Zhang Chen was so shallow, the person who cried out laughed loudly. Xiao Shi, who was controlled, also laughed loudly. Extremely terrifying. The system continued to announce the petition to use the injury to eliminate the risk. The sharp knife was stained with Zhang Chen's blood. Repeating the proposal to quickly use the plus crystal to eliminate the risk of being killed after 2 seconds of the notification system, Zhang Chen shouted, "This hint of yours." Zhang Chen suddenly turned his head and slammed Xiao Zai's head hard and said Lao Su's skill was to kill Zhang Shi, not to kill the stupid rat. Xiao Shi, after hitting his head, looked up for a while. Then slowly recall some memories of the scene appearing in a gloomy and melancholy area. Image of a zombie crushed under a large rock. A large shadow appeared lifting the rock and hitting it on the head. It turned out that Xiao Shi was tearing apart the flesh of the undead. Then put it to your mouth to chew. Suddenly Xiao Shi suddenly stopped as if he felt someone calling him. It turned out that Zhang Chen called Xiao Shi the mouse. Xiao Shi momentarily didn't understand anything, and rolled his eyes. Zhang Chen continued, "What is that, naive? Hurry over here and eat rice. Do not eat together, do not count as one family." Xiao Shi tearfully continued to look at Zhang Chen and hurry over here. Xiao Shi couldn't hold back the tears that fell down her rosy cheeks. Like remembering something, she cried out loud after remembering that her family members were eating. She didn't need to be hungry anymore, she wasn't alone anymore. Xiao Shi hurriedly stood up. Running back to the old man with his hands, "Sister Shi Chun, second fat." Suddenly she realized something. Zhang Chen rubbed his sore head, still holding the sword in his hand. Slowly sitting up and staring at Xiao Shi in front of him. Xiao Shi was still being controlled by the mourner. Zhang Chen was trying to hint at Xiao Shi. The great mouse cub recognized him, and he secretly rejoiced. When he saw Xiao Shi return to such a state, Xiao Shi, after remembering to see Zhang Chen with tears in his eyes, hurriedly asked him anxiously why he was injured like that. Without finishing the first sentence, Xiao Shi was stunned. She hurriedly raised her head in panic and exclaimed, "What the hell is this?" A weeping human was sitting on top of her, holding Xiao Zai's head tightly, trying to control Xiao Shi again. Xiao Shi panicked and tried to knock it down. Zhang Chen hurriedly came to the aid of Jiyu Zhenan. Xiao Shi persisted. "Absolutely do not let it be controlled." Xiao Shi heard this, suddenly asked and was controlled by it. As long as he was not completely erected, his veins would not hurt Xiao Shi, but he threw it out, running farther and farther. He thought to himself, "Where do you want to go?" Stop Zhang Chen to chase and shout Xiao Shi to run so fast that it is beyond the skill gap. The headache brought Xiao Shi back to consciousness. Seeing Xiao Shi coming back to her senses, the whaler went lower again, strengthened her mental strength to fully control her. Zhang Chen nervously shouted at Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi was in pain, his eyes were bloodshot and he kept crying out in pain, he remembered. Xiao Shi then grabbed the weeping man's arm. "It was this guy who used my hand." Xiao Shi was going to use his bare hands to break the arm of the mourner, his body emitting green energy. Upgrade notification system to the Stage 2 primary awakener. She grabbed the whaler hard to the ground. Xiao Shi clenched his fists, and his eyes emitted an extremely strong-looking light, rushing up and shouting, "It's a big meat-eater. You even dared to inject the poison into my body." And Xiao Shi rushed up and bit the neck of the wailing person. Zhang Chen, who was standing next to him, suddenly asked the pups, "You have upgraded." Xiao Shi is still biting and crying at this time. Large chunks of flesh were devoured by Xiao Shi. Zhang Chen thought that this biting power was too terrifying. The whaler could only groan and tremble in pain. In the distance came a sound. This was a very similar sound to before the Shi dynasty came to attack, but the Shi dynasty had dispersed at least half dead at the same time. There could not have been such a loud static sound. Zhang Chen was in deep thought at this time when suddenly a system message sounded. The hidden system, the weeping people struggled with death. The whole city of Tianyang was rushing here and was about to form a new dynasty to face the survival rate of 2%. Zhang Chen read the announcement and said in a panic. After a while, each group of returning undead converged. Mourners also flock here a lot. The undead from everyone poured in a lot, enveloping them in the labyrinth. Xiao Shi and Zhang Chen calmly tied up the wailing person just now, but continued to call Zhang Chen to speak incomprehensibly. The neck was bitten in half, and it did not affect the fact that it cried. Fortunately, before taking some strange things from the body of Nihong's body, it was really used, and Zhang Chen worked to silence the mourner. This way really worked. Xiao Shi saw this and said, I felt that the old man was more difficult to understand. If he really wanted a woman, he didn't need to look for Zhang Shi, wouldn't Xiao Shi ask? Zhang Chen immediately replied that his mind was full of yellow scraps and eating a lot. The screen showed how Shi Chao formed with 4 minutes left. Zhang Chen took Xiao Shi's neck and said stop chattering, and with his other hand, he dragged the wailing person away. In the labyrinth of absence, Xiao Shi dragged the mourner into a dark alley and said that this side was the center of the square. This time it must be concentrated here. Zhang Chen went to the upper floor to prepare. Xiao Shi saw this, looked up and wondered if the old man had finished preparing. He landed on a high terrace then said Shi Chun, stop attacking Gang Shi. Don't attract their attention. The people quickly fled. Zhang Chen used the system to notify Zhang Chen. After receiving Zhang Shen's notice, Shi Chen immediately agreed. The undead converged more and more. Zhang Chen accumulated green energy in his hands. Then the scrolling power ray spewed out a huge amount of energy. The undead who saw this looked up curiously. In the corner, Xiao Shi saw that the energy was about to shoot at him, and ran away and reproached his mother. He used a little more strength to destroy me. Xiao Shi emitted a green light that enveloped him. Whoever told me to take out this old man? The system kept telling me to take out the strong corrosive ammunition, take out the bomb and take out the explosives. Then kicked the weeper and cried Meng Meng far away, saying that you also came over to cry for all sets. The clapping sounded extremely loud. The undead were a little panicked, not daring to advance further. The undead kept screaming, all in a sea of engulfed fire. Seeing that the time had come, Zhang Chen hugged the cannon and said, this is called stewing in one pot. Then he threw down straight from the rooftop. The bomb landed with a roaring echo. The whole area was enveloped in flames. The self-picking launch notification system. The tidal body destroyed the Tianyang city that was scattering. Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. The harvest is not bad. Continuing like this is about to upgrade. Xiao Shi stood below and watched in admiration of his mother. This action of the old man is really good. This group of examinees is at least several thousands. In the enveloping flames appeared a face that startled Xiao Shi and shouted at his mother. He kept screaming and groaning for Xiao Zai's help. Seeing this, Xiao Shi immediately said that Xiao Shi wanted me to save you. There was no way that Xiao Shi refused. Speaking again, obediently go to die, quickly returned to the undead who heard only to be helpless and desperate. He then jumped into the sea of flames. Xiao Shi was slightly startled. Then use your hands to support your face away from the fire. Suddenly looking at the undead and thinking why did he really jump in, was it because he heard his orders? Before he could finish thinking, suddenly a voice called Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi saw that the person who came was Hope. Browse was glad to come out and say that the sisters have also arrived. Yes, OAAA. Hope approval replied. The odd body on that side is gone. The tide has passed, so he came to converge. But Xiao Shi, this form of yours is wondering. At that moment, Xiao Shi also ran to Xiao Shi with joy. Saw that Xiao Shi happily answered Shi Zai's question. Pearl Jade also walked over at this time. Everyone gathered together in one place. Chen Jade also said wow, what a... Xiao Shi looked at Xiao Shi a little strangely and said that Xiao Zai's head was more like Zhang Shi. Xiao Shi heard a shy smile and said that the appearance is now called the path of Zhang Shi, so that Zhang Shi has no way. Hope then looked around and asked if the god was nearby. Xiao Shi had always been cuddling with each other since meeting Erfat. Just then, the chapter god jumped down from above, suddenly appeared next to the two of them. calling each other's names. Seeing that the chapter god peacefully hugged the chapter god tightly and said it was good, teacher, we have passed, the chapter god was suddenly hugged momentarily, could not say anything, just blushed shyly. Then Jiang Chen also reacted and hurriedly reached out to rub his hair to comfort him. Hopefully it was hard. Hope brows also passed, and then they both soothed each other looking romantic. But Xiao Zai's shouts interrupted that moment, only you hugged cunningly. Then Xiao Shi and Yan Shi rushed over, and everyone hugged each other. Xiao Shi said we wanted to hug too. Being next to Chen Yu told Zheng Hao that the feelings of this group of people are really good, right? Zheng Hao also agreed with what Chen Yu mentioned. Looking at them who were still laughing and joking, Zheng Hao secretly thought in his heart that this man would be strong for a while. After him, a comrade or a bouncer or an enemy. Thinking of this, Zheng Hao was unconsciously worried in his heart. Running out of glasses, everyone jumped and held their beers and shouted. They are celebrating today's victory. Zheng Hao spoke up to destroy the imperial court. Everyone is hard. Let's reward yourself. Hope to happily respond to me to eat. Everyone is happy to celebrate on the table, only the two fats enjoying themselves alone below. Zheng Hao's face flushed red and said that Zheng Ying didn't eat, so in front of him, he could eat such food. It was a miracle. Zheng Hao happily replied yes, he was threatened with a hit. Zheng Hao thought involuntarily, in his mind, he could only say that this world was not subservient. Thinking as he looked at Jiang Chen's happy expression. Zheng Hao then regained his spirit, picked up a beer cup and invited Jiang Chen and said, Jiang Chen, you are really strong. With your ability, you can definitely save the might like this. Hearing this, Zheng Hao immediately felt uncomfortable in response to the savior. I am not the Messiah. Zheng Hao continued to say that he could at least protect the safety of the water dragon people in Tianyang City. Jiang Chen didn't say anything, stood up and picked up the meat. Giving Zheng Hao and saying that we have just been freed from the imperial court. Don't say such heavy words on the dinner table. Zheng Hao was surprised by the act of uttering only 2 words Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen then asked for everyone's permission to finish eating, went to the room to rest first. Shi Chen sitting next to him said that brother Chen didn't eat anymore. Jiang Chen replied, I'm a little tired. After that, he left Zheng Hao there confused. Jiang Chen secretly thought in Zheng Hao's mind that it was righteous. His virtue was not bad, and his strength could probably attract him. The hidden system at this time announced that Zheng Hao, who had awakened the second stage elementary, ranked the world strength 45,603 2. Jiang Chen was a little surprised. Zheng Hao was holding a glass of water in his hand at this time, while thinking, his ranking increased so much. Last time he looked at it was nothing more than a powerhouse who had just passed the top 10,000, so it is true that this person can collect. But whether to follow me or not has to see his choice. Now there is more important matter. Check what Jiang Chen said. When he checked the series of announcements that appeared, he saw countless resources. Jiang Chen immediately exclaimed, oh, not bad, it was really good. Especially this one. Jiang Chen lifted out a sword. The display screen, rare heavenly essence blade. When fighting can absorb 10% of the opponent's attributes plus the user, until the battle is over. Just looking at the long god sword and exclamation, really handsome, stronger than when using the blade. Also this one interests me the most. The map found at Nihong's headquarters had never been seen. At this time, moving the scene to Pearl Yu and Zheng Hao, who were sitting in the back garden of the villa. Pearl Yu said to brother Hao, why are you alone here? Zheng Hao did not answer Pearl Yu's question, but called Pearl Yu's name. Then said, if you ever thought about being able to go back to the world before. Pearl heard it suddenly silent for a few seconds. Then said, I hadn't thought about it. Yes, maybe we won't be able to go back in our whole lives. But we can build a new order in this deadly world. Rebuild a new world, Zheng Hao said. Then took Pearl Yu's hand and continued. He saw hope in Jiang Chen's body. Pearl Yu blushed and said, brother Zheng. Zheng Hao continued to persuade, Pearl Yu. Maybe we can really do it, do you believe me? Brother Hao, I believe just what you believe, I believe, Pearl Yu said. Well, we need a messiah, Pearl Yu. I do something for you, Zheng Hao said. He wanted to let Jiang Chen be at the top of this world, even if he wasn't content. The Ding notification system congratulates you on learning the rare skill of optimizing drawings, then being an all-powerful chef, then again your genes have improved receiving visual cell renovation. Finally, having injected the erectile virus has been able to immunize the erectile virus. We must also save this world, Jiang Chen thought in his heart. The next morning, Jiang Chen woke up and walked back. yawning for an hour with dark circles in his eyes. Shi Chen in the back ran to ask, "Good morning, Brother Shen. Why, you don't seem to be sleeping well." Zhang Chen replied, "Shi Chen, you don't sleep at all. But what's the problem?" Then take out from space a bottle of energy drink and pop the lid. Drinking, the alarm system is loading drinks with super powerful functions. Then he beamed back and smiled a little and asked Shi Chen, "How is it? I feel that this doesn't count as a matter of going to bed tomorrow," Shi Zan ordered. He has been a game player for many years, staying up one night is nothing, but he has arranged supplies for this time, found that there are still many problems behind him, Chang Chen said, and then reached out to support Xiao Zai's clothes. Could it be that there was also an afternoon exam when Xiao Shi stood next to him anxiously asked? Zhang Chen just dried his clothes and said that, it wasn't that he just felt. Then opened the well-held map. Water park display south of Pingcheng City, May 11, Year 2. Not 12 meteors fell. A whole scientific map has a total of 27 complete pieces, which can receive the whole high-level science and technology of Mercury, and at the same time open the lighthouse. The number of maps currently has 4. The riddle of the truth of the world became more and more visible, and the chapter said. Hope continued. May 11, 2nd year. No 12. I remember in my diary that I didn't mention earlier that this was the day the virus came out. That's right, so he speculated that the virus had a huge relationship with the meteorite, maybe even the meteorite that brought the virus. So what is a lighthouse? Zhang Chen pointed to the screen and said that the lighthouse is a large artificial space station near the flight trajectory of Mercury, above which is an ecosystem that can provide itself for 100,000 people. There is also this thing that exists, which proves that before the virus violently abused the people here began to save themselves. Even found the possibility of continuing to survive for some reason and went bankrupt. Just focus on the entire scientific and technical map to start the lighthouse, saying that maybe all the lucky survivors will be saved. Talking half-heartedly, I saw Hope looking at me, stopped and asked why look at him with this expression. It's just that I see you as more powerful than I thought, Hai Chen said with admiration in his eyes, obviously acting almost the same, but you have so much information, maybe you really are the savior of this world. Zhang Chen said embarrassedly, it's not that good. Not only do you have to collect all the scientific and technical maps, the clip documents found in the dental laboratory also have to be corrected. So many things are done. It seems that it has just begun, Zhang Chen said. Shi Chen now took Zhang Chen's hand and said that he wants to do it. Zhang Chen felt like he was sympathetic, very moved, and was about to continue speaking. At this time, Zhang Chen interrupted Zhang Chen. Good morning. Zheng Hao suddenly saw Zhang Chen and Shi Chen holding hands romantically, and blushed all over his face. Then run quickly and say sorry, I really don't have eyes to see, annoy you too. Ignore me you two. Continue. Running away when Zhang Chen suddenly said wait, don't go. Hearing Zhang Chen call me, you came at the right time. I had something to ask you. Zheng Hao paused and turned his back to say something. Zhang Chen stepped forward and said, Zheng Hao, do you want to join my organization, be my subordinate? Zheng Hao heard this and suddenly said nothing.